Toronto Maple Leafs are going through a moment that stirs the soul of any fan, a season of big decisions, changes that echo in a memory and heart city that breeds hockey all year long. This summer, 3 stories are shaking the franchises backstage, filled with emotion, strategy, and that taste of hope only those who wear blue and white understand. These are stories of rebirth, bold trades, and futures that could redefine the Leafs' destiny for the coming years. Imagine a young prospect who once shone brightly under the NHL lights, now searching for his place on another stage. Think about the impact of stealing a key piece from the biggest rival, someone who knows every corner of the TD Garden and can bring not only talent, but also that touch of healthy provocation that only hockey has. And finally, feel the strength of a possible transformation at the heart of the defense and the engine of the offense, with a trade that could unite experience and youth to rekindle the dream that spans generations. If you are a fan who lives every moment, who holds in memory the glories and challenges, you can't miss this conversation. Leave your light to show you're with us on this journey. Subscribe to the channel so you don't miss a single detail, and get ready for a season that promises to make history. Let's go together, Leafs Nation. Because here, every piece of news is a passion and every decision a hope. News number 1. Imagine a promising talent. A player who, at 19 years old, seemed destined to become a star on the ice. Someone who carried on his shoulders a weight of a fan base desperate for answers, for the future, for something new. Now imagine that same player, years later, sidelined and signed on the outskirts of a roster that no longer seems to have room for him. And then, picture a new scene, that player wearing the Rangers' royal blue, skating freely under the Madison Square Garden lights, rediscovering his game, his identity. The question that can't be ignored is, could Nick Robertson be the next rebirth project in the heart of Manhattan? It's summer in the NHL world. The backstage has cooled down. The GM's phones are silent. Journalists are on vacation. Despite still playing at a high level, players disappear from the radar. Represents one of those periods when nothing seems to happen. But ironically, everything can change. Because it's precisely in this calm that the smartest trades are sown. Without the headlines fanfare, without the pressure of the playoffs or the deadline, but with precision, vision, and opportunity. And that's where the idea arises. A discreet, surgical trade between the New York Rangers and the Toronto Maple Leafs. The Rangers are not in crisis. Far from it. The core is solid. The nucleus is talented and competitive. But those who follow the team closely know there are still gaps. There's a lack of creativity in some secondary lines, a missing young name, hungry, with something to prove, willing to accept a smaller role, but with a high ceiling. Someone who can enter Peter Laviolette's system and explode. Someone like Nick Robertson. Toronto, on the other hand, lives a contradictory situation. The offensive roster is almost closed. There are 14 solid names, veterans, prospects, and gambles. And yet, there is a 15th name lingering in the air. A restricted free agent and signed without guaranteed space, with no signs priority in the planning. The same kid who, not long ago, was called the Leafs' next big hope. Nick Robertson is today a typical case of talent on hold. And in the modern NHL, that is the same as being in the queue to leave. Selected 53rd overall in the 2019 draft, Robertson impressed early. Goal-scoring ability, refined game reading, offensive instinct, and an elite shot. But injuries, inconsistency, and difficulty securing a spot in a roster that demands excellence every day undermined his development. There were 3 seasons of ups and downs back and forth between the NHL and the AHL of unmet expectations. And now, another summer passes and he remains unsigned, repeating the same deadlock from the previous year. The signal couldn't be clearer. Toronto seems ready to move on. The question is, who will give him a second chance? Behind the scenes, the idea of a hockey trade circulates. The kind of rare, pure trade that does not involve monstrous salaries or media names, but rather talent for talent, opportunity for opportunity. The Rangers have a history with this kind of move. They know how to identify underrated talents. It was like that with Adam Fox, who arrived doubted and became one of the league's best defensemen. And it could be like that with Robertson, a silent bet that could pay off big. It's not hard to imagine the Rangers executives looking at the situation in Toronto and seeing an open window. Because as much as Robertson hasn't proven himself yet, he is still young. He is 22 years old, has NHL experience, international background, and the kind of natural skill that can't be taught. If placed in a structured offensive system, with consistent minutes, and without the pressure of being the franchise savior, he can flourish. And if there's a place where rebirths happen, it's New York. On the Leafs side, the logic is clear. They will not simply release Robertson for nothing. But if there's a young player in a similar situation, someone else who also needs a fresh start, a new locker room, the deal could happen. Would it be Brennan Othmann, perhaps? Or a defenseman like Matthew Robertson, who also faces heavy internal competition. Even a lesser-known prospect with upside might spark interest. Toronto wants to strengthen specific areas, perhaps bringing a mobile left-handed defenseman or even a physical style forward, something the roster lacks. Time is a crucial factor. The more the summer advances, the more imminent the need to resolve contract issues becomes. And with Robertson still out of the main plans, Toronto might start listening to offers more carefully. And if the Rangers are quick, they could seize the ideal moment, when the player's value is low but the potential remains intact. It's the kind of move that separates teams that react from teams that anticipate. And if the trade happens, the impact would be profound, even if not immediate. Robertson would bring a new dynamic to the Rangers' third line. A left winger with a quick, aggressive shot who knows how to play in transition and could eventually move up the lineup if all goes well. He would have a chance to prove his value without the burden of carrying a team like in Toronto. And for the Rangers locker room, it would be an emotional boost as well. New energy, a new story to follow, a new bet to root for. But every trade has its risk, and that's where the Rangers need to be cold. Evaluate well what they're willing to offer. It's not about investing heavily in a recovery project, but about identifying a low-cost opportunity with high return potential. And fans know that this kind of risk, when well calculated, can pay off big. Because there is nothing more exciting than seeing a player reborn wearing the Rangers crest in front of over 18,000 passionate people at the Garden. Now, the question is for you. If you were Chris Drury, would you pull the trigger? Would you trade one of our rising youngsters for Nick Robertson, believing in his rebirth in New York? Or would you keep the current group intact, betting on the development of those already here? Comment down below. We want to know your opinion. News number 2. Can you imagine what would mean to steal a key piece right from the hands of your biggest rival? A player who wore the Bruins black and gold for 3 years. A forward who knows the shortcuts of the TD Garden, who has felt the pressure of the playoffs firsthand, who understands how the dirty, physical, mental game works, the kind that defines the fate of a season. Now imagine that same player crossing the border, leaving Boston behind and becoming a Maple Leaf. Yes, Pavel Zacha might be about to star in one of the most symbolic and provocative trades in recent NHL history. And this isn't just another summer rumor. It's a sign, a warning that the Leafs are far from accepting mediocrity. They want more. They want it now. Toronto doesn't breathe off-season. The city lives hockey all year round. And after Mitch Marner's departure, the atmosphere changed. It wasn't just a negotiation. It was an emotional break with an era, with a style, with an idol. The fans felt it. The community felt it. But they also understood this is the price of progress. There is no more time for sentimentality. The clock is ticking, and every decision by Brad Treliving carries the weight of an entire generation of fans still dreaming of the cup that hasn't come since 1967. So, when a rumor like this emerges, it gains strength, meaning colors the city murals, and finds voice in stands. The possible arrival of Zacha is not just about a new player. It's about changing the destiny of a franchise. If you feel this could be the turning point the Leafs needed, click like now and subscribe to the channel. Here, we build a fan base as one block. Here, every rumor is debated with passion, and every trade is lived as if it were a conference final. Because we are Leafs. Because we suffer, dream, and never give up. Now, let's get to the point. Analyst Matteo Giuliano, from Editor in Leaf, was clear. Pavel Zacha is the most realistic name for Toronto's offense right now. At 28 years old, despite still playing at a high level, 82 games last season a short-term. He scored 14 goals, had 33 assists, totaling 47 points. Numbers that by themselves don't shine like a superstar, but carry something the Leafs lack today. Consistency, durability, and versatility. Zacha can play center or wing, and that, on a team undergoing tactical rebuilding after Marner's departure, is gold. Especially if we consider the fit alongside Tavares or Nylander, two names who need a smart complement on their line. Zacha is in the third year of a 4-year contract, with a salary cap hit of $4.75 million per season. A reasonable amount, even cheap considering what he offers. And Toronto, which is just under $3 million available on the cap, could create space with a simple move, trading Kaye Jarnkrok or David Kampf. Two names that, while useful, don't provide the same level of offensive impact. This kind of financial maneuvering is something Treliving has already made clear he's willing to do. As he said himself, flexibility is important. If it's not used now, it will be later, but it exists. It's like a piece waiting for the right fit. And that piece could be Zacha. But what makes everything more intriguing is the backstage surrounding the Bruins. Officially, management insists the team is still fighting for a playoff spot. But everything else is otherwise. The roster has aged. Performance has dropped. The core lacks depth. And the rumors are clear. Boston is indeed listening to offers for Zacha. David Pagnotta, insider for Fourth Period, states the Bruins have explored this trade before and may be considering it again. Zacha's no-trade clause, which prevented trades to 10 teams, now allows him to be traded to any franchise outside a new reduced list of only 8. This gives him some control, but not total. If Toronto is off that list, there are no obstacles. The rivalry between the Leafs and Bruins turns any deal between them into a war of nerves. It's not just hockey. It's history. It's scars. It's blood on the snow. Years of eliminations, provocations, frustrations. So yes, the simple idea that Toronto can improve at Boston's expense is sweet. And dangerous. Zacha knows the Bruins locker room inside out. He knows the habits, the set plays, the patterns. Imagine him bringing that knowledge to Blue side. Imagine the psychological impact in a direct confrontation. This isn't just strengthening the team. It's undermining the enemy with their own piece. If he arrives, the Leafs gain more than forward. They get a player who can play on several lines, who brings more physicality than finesse, who complements star players without demanding the spotlight. Zacha is not coming to be the hero. He's coming to make the heroes play better, to bring consistency to the transition game, to occupy spaces that are currently empty, to transform a good team into a complete team. And that, for those chasing the Stanley Cup, is what separates champions from second-round exits. But what if he doesn't come? What if Zacha goes to another Eastern team? Imagine him reinforcing a direct rival, someone like the Rangers, Hurricanes, or even the Panthers. What today is a strategic opportunity could tomorrow become an irreparable mistake. And what if Boston changes its mind and decides to keep him until the end of the contract? Toronto would be left without an answer, without Marner, without a replacement, and with a core that, as talented as it is, still needs balance. That's why the time is now. You can't wait for the deadline. You can't risk seeing this name slip away. Pavel Zacha may not be the blockbuster of the summer, but he is exactly the kind of Peace Championship teams add quietly. And when the playoffs come, he's there, making a difference, changing games, silencing arenas. And now it's up to you. Do you think the Leafs should go all in on Zacha? Or would that be too timid a bet for a team at the Stanley Cup window's final stretch? Would you trade Jarn Krok or camp for him? What would you do if you were Brad Treliving? Leave your comment below. Let's keep this conversation going like a true fan base, because that's what we are, a community that lives, breathes, and suffers together with this team. News number 3. Can you feel the weight of a decision that could change everything in Toronto? A trade that shakes both the heart of the defense and the future of the offense. Morgan Rielly, one of the Maple Leafs pillars for over a decade, could be just one step away from heading west to join the Anaheim Ducks. And Mason McTavish, a young center full of potential who has already shown his quality in the NHL, could be on his way to Scotiabank Arena to help fill the void left by Mitch Marner. This isn't just a player-for-player deal. It's a story of transformation, courage, and reinvention. Toronto is under pressure few teams can understand. It's not just about winning games. It's about breaking a nearly 6-decade Stanley Cup drought, about restoring a city to hockey glory. The emotional impact of Marner's departure was felt on every street corner, in every fan conversation, torn between the pain of loss and the hope for what lies ahead. And while many look back, GM Brad Treliving is focused on building a new present, one that involves tough, strategic decisions, reflecting the Leafs' ambition not just compete, but to dominate the NHL. McTavish entered the league as a 3rd overall pick in 2021, carrying a promise few young players are trusted with, to be the kind of center who can change a franchise's fate. And he hasn't disappointed. Standing at 6 feet 1 inch, 216 pounds, he's got the frame and skill to thrive in the NHL grind. Last season, he hit a career-high 52 points in 76 games, showing steady development and real potential to be a top 6 mainstay for the Leafs. He's not just another player. He's a piece that can be shaped to fit the style Toronto wants to impose. On the other hand, Morgan Rielly is more than just a defenseman with impressive stats. Despite still playing 513 points in 873 games, with an offensive mindset and unwavering consistency, playing every game last season. He's part of the team's emotional fabric, a natural leader, a warrior who has proudly worn the blue and white. But that deep connection with the fan base and the Leafs' recent history is exactly what makes this potential trade so impactful and delicate. Behind the scenes, Treliving's strategy is starting to take shape. The GM knows the team needs a new identity, one that balances youth and experience, with the blue line looking solid thanks to emerging young talent. The focus is now on the offense, the part of the team that suffered most with Marner's exit. The arrivals of Nicholas Roy and Dakota Joshua added energy and physicality, but the team still lacks that central piece combining talent and leadership. McTavish fits that mold. And best of all, he'd have a heavyweight mentor in John Tavares, someone who could speed up his development and potentially create one of the team's next great offensive duos. Meanwhile, for Anaheim, this deal addresses a long-standing issue, a lack of balance and veteran leadership on the left side of their defense. Rielly would bring instant stability, serve as a trusted partner for Jacob Trouba, and act as a mentor to a young defensive core still finding its place in the league. This trade, if accepted, could be a true win-win in the world of sports business. But there's one critical factor that can't be overlooked: Rielly's no-movement clause. Without his approval, the deal goes nowhere. His willingness to leave Toronto, his city, his legacy, is the biggest question mark in the whole negotiation. The presence of head coach Joel Quenneville, with his winning pedigree, could be a persuasive factor in convincing Rielly that a move is in his best interest. Anaheim's $21 million in cap space gives them plenty of room to absorb Rielly's salary, while cap-tight Toronto would gain flexibility to address other areas of need. The trade could open the door for additional moves, fueling a broader roster overhaul that could make the Leafs more competitive for the road ahead. For fans, this kind of trade is an emotional roller coaster. Rielly isn't just a player, he's part of the team's recent identity. Seeing his name tied to a possible exit is tough, even painful. But at the same time, the future glimmers in the form of McTavish, a young talent who could inject the kind of renewed energy Toronto desperately needs. So here's the question: would you make this trade? Swap experience and leadership for youth and potential? Do you believe McTavish is the right name to lead the attack in the Leafs' next era? Or should the team explore other options to fill the gap left by Marner? This is a conversation that has to happen, because being a Leafs fan means living every piece of news, every rumor, every trade like it's Game 7. It means feeling that unique blend of passion, anxiety, and hope that only those who wear the blue and white truly understand. If you want to keep this discussion going, leave your comment. Your opinion is part of the power behind this community that never stops believing. And don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and share it with your fellow fans who live the same dream. In the next episode, we'll explore another possibility that could shake up the Leafs' blue line, with a defenseman from the Western Conference who could transform the team's dynamics and increase the pressure on opponents even further. Get ready. The summer of reconstruction is far from over, and the upcoming season promises to be one of the most pivotal in recent Maple Leafs history. So, Leafs Nation, what do you think of these moves? Will they reignite the fire we've all been waiting for? The future of the Toronto Maple Leafs is being written right now, and your voice matters. Don't stay silent. Join the conversation, share your thoughts, and be part of this community of die-hard fans who live every moment together. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up, subscribe for all the latest updates, and hit the bell so you don't miss what's coming. Here, we are Leafs Nation, united by one dream, the cup that's long overdue. See you in the next video. Until then, let's stick together. Because being a fan isn't just a hobby, it's part of our history.